Hello, hello. So, good day, everyone. My name is Sky, and I'm going to be covering a subject that isn't easy for me because for a long time it's felt like something I've needed to suppress because those around me that engage with me more or less didn't want to hear it or feel it. Feel the retribution of the things that they had been a part of, and that the pain that allowed to exist, the self-reflection that is necessary for those things to pass. And I always wanted to be able to deal with these things on a very personal basis and to move on and to allow my life to truly move on, but with the people that I included my life with, to move on together, to be on that everlasting path of growth together. However, for the person that I am and the person that gave my energy, eventually I did need to withdraw it. And I learned many things from that, some of which I'll cover, perhaps. But for the most part, I will simply be relaying the reputation of the Lighthouse as a total, as people that represent it, as people that protect it, and as people that create the story or the identity of what is the Lighthouse. It's a community or a business, much and similar, the same. People that are working together with a common belief, a common idea to create something functional, something purposeful, something sustainable, and something that can grow as a business does, as a community does, if it is healthy and helpful, if it's good for everyone. And for all intents and purposes, I hope anyone and everyone gets to that stage of life, being able to work in a group and make that happen. For myself, the Lighthouse didn't meet the components of what I just spoke of. In fact, I would say it very much had the opposite effect. Things that were aimed for but couldn't be achieved because of many things. Inability to see ourselves, inability to confront others and actually making a change, to change things, to put ourselves on the line, to put our energy where it is most meaningful, and perhaps ask ourselves, is the Lighthouse or the way it's conducting its energy the most meaningful path or the best use of energy? And that's a question that constantly changes based on the individual, but as a group, hopefully something that can be constructed. But yeah, again, the reason I'm making this video is because I was one of those people, which I think out of a lot of people, were severely hurt by the Lighthouse and that very unclear purpose, because that purpose purely wasn't held within. That purpose was something of a reaction to an ideal rather than something deeper. And that's why, for me, it's been something that is very flawed and hurt a lot of people's higher expectations. Those people that gauge in the idea of expectations and it only hurting you, well, sometimes expectations can give us hope, can let us create more. It's that part of the day where you begin to work with each other. And you work together. You create something beautiful, more grandiose, and it gives you hope, pleasure, and joy in achieving it. And a lot of the time, we get in the way of ourselves in creating something, perhaps even protecting those expectations. It's a form of self-respect. I'm going to get a little bit distracted, lots of people going up the stairs, and I don't have the luxury of my own space very often. But yeah, like any flow, we flow, sometimes we hold on to things, and sometimes we need to let go, because fundamentally you can't control the flow, and sometimes it builds up and you take your own sovereign path, fulfilling your own morals and values. So let's get to the duties of this. Look, I don't think the lighthouse should be in a place of holding people's energy, of being a spotlight within the community, because for me it is actually the biggest darkness of my experience within Australia, within community, within people, within fundamentally a shallowness. And for all intents and purposes, this does come from a place of deeply understanding the people that live there, as I did live there for a year and had a long-term relationship there as well, with everyone. In a form it's defamation, but in another form these are the things that happen. And that I think should be known, so that other people don't get warped up in this drama. In that the best intentions sometimes aren't held there. In that you should prepare to be emotionally drained. In that everything you mentally want to bring will be pushed back on you with social satire and rejection of what actually is going on. I know, I just heard the lighthouse come up in recent conversations, and it's just a shame to actually see people even giving it mental attention. So let's get to the gist. The place I went to was not organized. It was not something encompassing of allowing people to fundamentally put themselves in that environment. It's something where I myself, as an independent, came there, I invested money, bought 2 large lighthouses, bought things like cutlery, cooking, tools, the whole shebang, so that people could actually have purpose and the right tools when actually working there and working with permaculture. And yeah, simple things like bins, social structures, things like that had to be reorganized. And if we are to kind of uphold, a focus, discipline is needed, and the people that actually were the ones to hold the space simply did not have the discipline or clarity of mind in order to keep that vision true and strong. William, this will fundamentally be for you, and it should be known that William is known to be very much a womanizer, and I mean this in the way of just being completely unaware of over projecting his own feelings, and can cause a lot of clutter. It's something you just learn on a day-to-day basis. But fundamentally, he did misserve the people. There is an instance where he consciously spread an STD, or he was pre-warned of having an STD, yet continued with sexual intimacy, spreading that. So I would just be very aware of the unconscious sexual behavior that is there. Just really mistreating women, and even people um, you know, like a king that isn't really for his people, a tyrant. And those would be the words that, whatever, we all stay true to our words, that even his mother would use, and yeah. So it hasn't been healthy having someone who doesn't listen. And people that have gone there, he hasn't paid them back. That intention to pay them back, laughs at thing, misdistribution of his own wealth. I think we all have a vote in how we use our money and things, but at that time I was putting in all of my money for fundamental parts of the community, and it was just a letdown to see someone who had an idea spend his money on things that just weren't in the best interest of the community. So I know it's a simple thing, yeah, spend your money on ganja, but when you have no money and when other people are having to cash up to keep things going, not healthy. I within that year easily put down at least, I'll say $7,000, $10,000, covering the bills and the food to actually keep the community going. Something I was alright with, but something I realized that wasn't really equal. And yeah, I had after a year of thinking that I could believe in these people, rely on them, realized that in total, as much as we talk about emotional independent responsibility, there is a place within a community where we are living together and emotions, feelings, more or less become mixed as reflections of each other, and that our emotions, in my opinion, are very much integrated with each other. So I carried a large burden from that place and always wanted to be able to relieve that, to have my feelings felt, but instead was shunned within that community. And yeah, for a long time I played patience, but fundamentally needed to figure out that these people did not care, that they were I don't mind being selfish, but I guess it's self-respect. But anyway, on both sides. But fundamentally, we're selfish. Didn't take the steps to actually help themselves and help with the process. And Stacey Mitchell fundamentally might be one of the worst people I've dealt with in my life. Always blindsiding myself to the curriculum of how much she doesn't actually care, and thinks herself independent from her actions and what she does, throwing her emotions on other people, or just blatantly side-shadowing other people's feelings. So, yeah, I've seen this girl more or less, I would say, cheat on her partner. That partner take a whole bunch of drugs, and then when confronted with the issue, said, "It's not my problem." A situation with myself where I spent a lot of time and energy wanting to heal that situation, but fundamentally once I was gone, which means I removed myself from the lighthouse, but for a year there, almost my time at the lighthouse, she would have been a trigger because of her lack of transparency, lack of trust, lies to myself as her partner, and cheating on me, as well as just not fulfilling her word and paying back money or anything. Really a low-life person, but continuing there and wanting to actually express how I felt with the lighthouse. It did not happen, and it led me to suicide eventually. And in that time of committing suicide, I decided to call Stace, where I received a call, and frankly, her initial energy was that of, I don't give a shit, and that's always been her, which was very hard for me, given it was someone that a long time ago I loved, and for a long time I still cared about the person. Anyway, the conversation was had, things were mediated, and after the conversation I wished for her to remediate things with another dear friend that she had caused similar issues with. So she herself has been a causality chain of damaging community and people around her and people that I cared about. And so I did find frustration in that, and frankly didn't want to see this continue, as I didn't want to see the lighthouse continue with its involvement of other people for the damage that it does do. And I actually feel a deep shame that I even gave energy to that place. And then this is a way of me taking it back. Or just saving other people time and energy from a supposed light, which is something, at this place is something of a fantasy. Anyway, I continued to travel back to the east, because at that time I was on the west coast, and being in the conditions where I was, I wanted to go back to friends and family. I thought that was better for my mental health. I guess I wanted to have another conversation with Stace, given at the end of our previous conversation there was something of a mutual understanding and love. I guess both of us saying I love you, and I guess I'll see you sometime in the future. I wanted her to understand that, yeah, I'm going back to the East Coast, and it'd be really nice to let a couple more things off my mind, to actually work towards being able to be in the same space and be in a safe space inside of ourselves. So yeah, I want to do that because the drive from the West Coast to the East Coast is a big one, and I didn't want that stuff on my mind. I wanted to clear that. Nonetheless, by the time I got to the East Coast, her having an idea that we would end up in the same social situation, which means in the same place, with people that I'd worked with or lived with in the Rainbow community for a long time, my friends that I wanted to go back to. She would be in that environment, so instead she posted some bullshit to make sure we don't end up in that environment. And an idea to protect herself, because she knew exactly what she had done, the damage she had caused, and the reprimands for me basically saying I always be truthful, which is me. Yeah. Knowing that she is a cheat and has continued to do so. So, I don't know, just being straightforward. Not spreading gossip, but if the emotions there, need to be treated, especially if they're in the same space. Yeah, so anyway, that led to its own drama. People messaging me thinking I'd raped her, or done random things, which for myself, that had been the complete opposite of what I had pretty much given my life to. And for people that watch this, they probably know me, so they probably know that I've given at least 6-8 years of my soul life towards community and other people in general. And I decided to just take that backlash and just observe it and learn from other people having that projection of myself and how it felt. And you know what? It crumbled me inside, and led me to another clear instance of suicide. But yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story how it didn't happen, but only for those that ask. Nonetheless, in the end, I felt like the people that were closest to me looked the other way, didn't really confront the issue, slide-gated it, because fundamentally they would need to put something on the line or do something, put their reputation on the line, bring harmony in a realm where they couldn't, and instead I was pushed out. And more or less I've left Australia now because I can never feel comfortable in that country, knowing how shallow some of my friendships there were, understanding how the feeling of the past always lingered, and that I just couldn't be myself anymore with other people. "21 minutes. So yeah. Enjoy your night, everyone.